everybody. My name is Bobby Sanabria, co-artistic director of The Place to Be, the BMHC, the Bronx Music Heritage Center, along with Elena Martinez. Welcome to this edition of Percussion Discussion. As you well know, Africa permeates all throughout our culture, whether you're from Central America, South America, the Caribbean, and of course, the United States. And when we talk about Africa, most people refer to Yoruba-based culture because it's had the most influence, the Yoruba people being the mighty nation from Nigeria. But there are other African nations that permeate our culture, and one of them is Bantu Congo culture from West Central Africa. And here to talk to you about the music from that culture and how it is part of our existence today is the great Alex Lasalle, who will present to you a little bit about Palo Mayombe, the African strain from the Bantu Congolese people in Western Central Africa as it exists on the island of Cuba and has spread out to here in New York City. So let's welcome to the Percussion Discussion, the one and only Alex Lasalle.
Hello, how are you guys? My name is Alex Lasalle, and I am going to be helping you guys learn a little bit of what it is to drum malongo, right? And to drum the pattern, the main rhythm of the Afro-Cuban tradition known as Palo. And the rhythm itself also goes by the word Palo. Some people call it Congo. The tradition itself goes by, mainly folks recognize it as malongo. Which is within malongo, within that tradition, you have different branches. You have Mayombe, Kimbisa, Briyumba, and Nfinda. They're different types. It's a tradition and a religion that comes by way of Africa to Cuba, and from Cuba to the rest of the Americas and the rest of the world. And it's primarily done on three drums, on three timbas, three congas, right? So you have a high drum, a middle, and a low. And they use some kind of bell or a hoe, the head of a hoe, and a maraca for the lead singer. So what we're going to start with is the bell pattern. And the bell pattern has different variants. So just a quick bit of information. The rhythm of Palo, right, can change depending on what part of Cuba you are in, and also depending on what rama you belong to. So the way they play now is not the way they played 30 years ago, as well as the way they play in Matanzas may not necessarily be the way they play in La Habana. Even within La Habana, you have regional variations. And the way they play in La Habana is not how they play in Pinar del Rio. The way I was taught was by my godfather, Florencio Miguel Garzón Ayala. I learned the very basic patterns from him, and then from there I learned just by being within the community for the past 25, 30 years. 25 years initiated within the tradition and about 30 years within the community. And so watching elders and masters, master drummers playing all these years, you pick up a few things here and there, right? And so there, I'm going to start with one very simple pattern and one more complex. The first pattern that we're going to learn on the bell is quite simple. Palo is a rhythm that is done in 6/8, right? And so the very first pattern is actually one that's tended to be used more as a fallback, when you get tired. But I've seen people start and finish a whole song just using that pattern. And it's very simple. And it's following that 6, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're following the 6, but you're only playing the first 4 of that 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very simple. And like I said, it's primarily used as a fallback. Like I've been part of ceremonies and drummings that have started where the drumming starts at 7 o'clock at night. This is in, for example, many times in our spiritual house, in our temple over there in Orozco, in Pinar del Rio, they'll start playing at 7 o'clock at night and end 1, 2 in the afternoon the very next day. And this is all night drumming, all night dancing, all night singing. And so folks tend to get tired after playing such, even though they rotate, you know, folks tend to get tired after a long time. So what they do is they'll switch from the main pattern to that pattern of switch back and forth into different patterns. They'll vary it up a little bit, you know, to give it flavor. But it's mainly that 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the main pattern that's used follows the 2-3 clave, right? But in a 6 feel, having that, you know, giving it a 6 feel. And then they add pickups to it, right? So you add the pickup. So and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 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 1, 2, 3. So it's basically that 2, 3 in a 6 feel, right? And then they'll add the pickup to it. And 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 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 and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. And when they get tired, they'll fall back. All right. So that's basically the bell pattern. Very simple. Nothing out of this world, nothing too complex. Okay, now that we've gone over the bell pattern, what we're going to learn now is the first drum pattern. The drum pattern that belongs to the high drum, which is known as either the quinto, but traditionally within Palo, it's known as the Kachimo pattern or the Kachimbo drum, and it's the highest pitched drum, right? So it's again following that bell pattern, and we tend to either start on the 1, like I just did right now, where we can start it. Or they'll start it on the pickup to the 1, which is the tone into the slap. So and 1, and 1. So the Kachimo pattern is broken down. Basically, the main parts, the main component of that pattern, of that rhythm, is the open tone and the slap. You have the open tone, which is the pickup into the 1, which is the slap. So it goes and 1, right? That's the main part of the rhythm. Everything else is just fill-in, timekeeping, embellishment, right? But the main part is that and 1, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Like I said, everything else you can tap. There are people. There's different ways to play it. Some people. But the main part is that 1, and 1, and 1, and 1, and 1, and 1. It's most recognized of the patterns of Palo, right? And that is basically between that one and the other two drums, they form a conversation. The tones will form a conversation. So you'll have the low tone, which actually falls on the 1. The middle drum falls on the 3, the tone, and this high drum falls on the 5, going, to end the rhythm, end the pattern. So, and 1. So if we're gonna count it in 6, right, and slow it down, it would be 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it will fall with the bell pattern, right? Ba, 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 ba. So, you know, together they form a conversation between the bell and the three drums. And the cachimbo is usually the drum that's really like the main one that everyone's kind of like following besides the bell. You know, it's the kid. It's the one that holds everything together here. So again, it's played much faster. Traditionally, it's played much faster. It's and faster than that as well. But usually doesn't go too much faster than what I just played. So. There is a variant when you want to spice it up a little bit, right? When you want to give it a little bit of flavor, a little bit of variance, to have a more full conversation with the drums, in order to kind of like to embellish, not embellish, but to really spice up the singing. So what they would do, or what we do, is instead of playing just one tone on that 5, right, we'll do 5, 6, and then the 1. So we. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So it's tone, tone, 1. This is again a simplified version. It's a 101 class, right? So there are people who go into different breaks, different embellishments, different things to do to really spice it up. But those are the two main patterns, starting with and then going into this one. So, remembering that this is a tradition that came from the Congo, and it's considered to be one of the oldest of the African traditions in the Americas, hands down. And within this, it's usually we use this type of rhythms to accompany the singing that's going to be used to pay reverence to nature, to God, to our ancestors, to the ancestral lineage that brought the traditions, but also to the ancestral lineage that runs through our blood. So we can use this to pay respects not only to those who came before us, but to the spirits of nature, whether it's the ocean, whether it's the river, or whether it's the sky, whether it's the sun, whether it's the moon, whether it's a plant that's growing or a rock. it doesn't matter, a mountain, even animal spirits and animal guides. So it's something that we use, one, to really connect with nature, to really connect with our environment, and two, to connect with each other, to connect with the people that we love, the people within our community. And it's a way that we bond and we grow stronger. And so we consider the cachimbo, the high drum, to be that rhythm that's going to really just like establish it, right? It establishes the foundation. So that is the Kachimo pattern for the high drum. And now we're going to move on to the middle drum, which is la mula. Okay, so now we are going to move on to the second drum, the middle drum, known as la mula. Okay, el segundo, la mula. And la mula pattern is basically a mirror image of el cachimbo. Whereas the cachimbo pattern, as we already learned, goes from the 5 into the 1. The mula goes from the 1 into the 3. So it's playing basically the opposite of what the other one was playing previously. So whereas the cachimbo was going, the mula will be going 1 3 1 3 1 3. So the other one is 5 1, or 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 5 1 5 1 5 1 2 3 3 1 3. All right. So it sounds like. It's the mirror image of the cachimbo. The mula drum is the second drum, and there are provinces in Cuba, like in Pinar del Rio, where instead of the caja drum being the main drum that talks, it would be the mula drum that actually improvises on top of the rhythm. But in this particular style, which is more widely found throughout La Habana, and is considered to be more of like that general, generic, right? Generic type palo. It's the cachimbo, the mula, and then the lead drum would be the caja. Remembering that this is a tradition that comes from the Congo, and it's used to accompany religious ceremonies that came from the Congo and established themselves in Cuba, and from Cuba to the rest of the Americas, right? And because of that, one of the main philosophies that's followed is the philosophy of what's known as the dikenga, right? Or it's basically a cross that's used to it's a symbol of a cross, right? More complex than that, but it's basically a cross. It's used to explain the evolution of things and the evolution of life, and through that, right? And so everything that is above is basically a mirror image of everything that's below. And it's interesting because the same thing happens even within the music. You find that the cachimbo and the mula, for the most part, in most of the traditions, are almost mirror images to each other. So again, the cachimbo would be N1, and then the mula. So again, la mula is 1 and, right? Or 1 3. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3. So again, the slap is on the 1, and the tone is on the 3, and together they form that conversation. So the 3 and the 5, right? For the high drums you have, and they both have the 1 on the slap. So, right? So that's the conversation between both of them. And then the lead drum would come in on that one. And so, and then improvise on the rhythm. So again, when you want to build up the rhythm, when you want to, subir el golpe, subir el ritmo, and intensify it, and the cachimbo, like we spoke about earlier, would go into that one, it would go into the 5-6 and then 1, right? So 5-6-1. Whereas this one would go into the 1, rest on, 2 is like a silent, and then 3-4. So it goes. So that's another variation. And in fact, sometimes the drummer will just start out with that pattern and maintain that pattern throughout the rhythm, instead of just going the single tone. Instead of doing that, the drummer will do this. So it's in 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll slow it down a little bit. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's on a 3 and a 4. So it's, right? Again, since Palo is much faster than that, it's played much faster, you will have. The mula drum pattern. Another thing to say is that the mula may choose to improvise every now and then in order to give the caja a rest, but it's mainly the caja that improvises, and we're going to move on to the caja right now. Okay, so now we are going to finish off with the caja drum, the lead drum, also traditionally called ngoma. And ngoma is actually just how you say drum in the Kikongo language, in the Congo language. It's ngoma. But in Cuba, ngoma became, or ngoma cheche, strong drum, is one of the traditional names for this drum right here, also known as la caja. So either way is correct, either ngoma cheche, ngoma, or la caja, you're referring to this particular drum, the lead drum, the lowest one. And the lowest one is the one that improvises for the most part, and in the majority of the traditions of Malongo. And it's played basically but it's basically on that 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it kind of goes back and forth between the 1 starts with the open tone, and then the next one is actually going to be a bass, a closed bass, right? So it's 1. Will fall on the one, the open tone will fall on the 1, and so will the bass. So you alternate between the 2, and then sometimes you'll go no written rule on when and how it has to be done. You basically just flow between it and listen to the main rhythms in the bell and just follow along. And then the other role of the lead drum of la caja or la ngoma cheche, right, is to follow the lead singer and almost improvise around what the lead singer is doing in order to really florear or, you know, to embellish, to bring out the qualities of the singer. And so, you know, you have the pattern, they'll fall back into the main pattern, which is, and because it's malongo, it's played a lot faster a lot of the time, so it's, the drum follows the singer and follows as well the dancer. So sometimes the drum will, and you see this in other Afro-Caribbean traditions, especially the traditions that come from the Congo. They have their origin in the Congo. So la bomba de Puerto Rico, where el subidor le sigue al bailador, you know, where the lead drum follows the dancer. In malongo, you also find it in rumba, particularly in la Colombia. And throughout different traditions of the Caribbean, like Woka and Belé and different ones, right? And so it's no different here. When the lead singer is singing, the drum will try to really bring out the essence of the song through the syllables and the lyrics of the lead singer, as well as if a dancer comes out, they'll kind of mark the important steps of the dancer. It's all to bring up, right? It's like that crescendo effect, right? And so la caja, you know, en ngoma cheche, it'll follow. And then when you see the other two drums going into that double pattern where you have the cachimbo on the 5/6, the mula will go on the 3/4. This one will do the same thing on the 1/2. So it'll go. So that's another pattern. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a second pattern for the lead drum. And when put together, you'll hear that. You'll hear the full language of that, which. Much faster, or right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically what the pattern should sound like, more or less, right? Again, following the the bell and the maraca, keeping that steady 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all the maraca does. It just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just keeps that time. And everything is held together. Singing, the dancing, it's one of the most beautiful, really heartfelt traditions. It's because of this that I got into bomba later on. I'm myself being Puerto Rican, but I started much earlier in this tradition because I was raised in this tradition as a spiritual tradition, right? And so I started off in Malongo at least 5, 6, 7 years earlier than I did in bomba, and I started bomba when I was about 15, 16 years old. So again, to end it, la caja. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Muchas bendiciones. Same locutare.
Wasn't that great? Our special thanks to our guest, Alex Lasalle. Remember, if you missed any part of Percussion Discussion, you can always view it again here on the Facebook page of the Bronx Music Heritage Center, the BMHC, the place to be. For the BMHC, my name is Bobby Sanabria, co-artistic director, along with the mighty Elena Martinez. See you on the next Percussion Discussion.